All right, so Three Ninjas Podcast, Domino, Hess Jones, Bobby. And we have a guest on the phone right now. Now, earlier this year, we talked about BlerDCon. We talked about how we want to go. And all these great things that I've heard about it. And, we finally went and we had the time of our lives. Some people had a greater time than others. Shout out to Bobby.
Stop pulling my spot up.
I mean, it is what it is, bro. I mean, and we got the man on the phone that curated and provided the vibes. We got Hilton back on the line. Hilton, how you doing, man?
How y'all doing this afternoon?
What's up?
We all right, man. Can't complain. We're a couple months removed from BlerDCon. We had a whole episode that we talked about our time at BlerDCon. Like I said, Bobby came and others conquered. Still we had our fun.
He did a rhyme.
Where's that SpongeBob meme when I need it?
You about to head out?
No, I'm gonna head on now.
Yeah, forward.
No, but we had a good time, man. Now, my first question to you about BlerDCon 2019, what the fuck happened to the ACs, my G?
This is going to be the funniest story. So in your head, I want you to cue that music that you saw in Ocean's 11 every time they cut to one of those scenes where it's like the plan is being hatched with the bass guitar strumming and everything.
Right.
Okay. So on Wednesday, because I investigated this thoroughly because this was the first time we had this problem. In the 3 years that we'd had BlerDCon, the previous 3 years actually had been record heat wave weekends in the DC area. So, and we never had any complaints about the air conditioning or circulation or anything, especially from cosplayers, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. So
the fact that it was, it wasn't unbearable, but it was noticeably hotter than it should have been for, a major hotel. You know how that works. Mm-hmm. So we're going into the back office investigations, and there was something that I had not connected because it was like something I was dealing with on another issue. Mm. During the load-in, the trucks, and I don't know if you know this, but there's a Starbucks on the eastern side of the building, just north of the building. Mm. There's a little nook. That's where the load-in dock is that all the vendors use. And this is the guys that bring in the video games. This is the guys that bring in the sound and light. There's a lot of the vendors who are selling in the marketplace. And I had been dealing back and forth with an issue that someone's truck had hit one of the vents, like that crosses the top ceiling of that deck. Mm-hmm. And I never made the connection. I didn't think that there was anything to it. I was like, they're like, Hilton, we need you to look at this video so you can help identify this truck, because during the load-in, we see somebody knocked out, a major vent thing when they were coming in. Mm. And we found out who it was. They had insurance. It was no big deal. But then at the end of the con, we're doing our after actions briefing, and they said, well, yeah, we knew that the air conditioning had broken down like to about 50% or 60% of what it's supposed to do. Mm. And they brought in obviously the HVAC people, that following week. And they're like, yeah, somebody knocked out the vent. And so, the air conditioning wasn't circulating on all thrusters because, one of the vents was knocked out. Mm. And it kind of blew out some stuff, had a domino effect or whatever. Mm. So it wasn't hard for me to then say, okay, obviously this is not going to be something that's going to be a problem in the future. But yeah, we need to make sure that we stay cool and frosty for next year, because it'll be something people will be listening to and paying attention to in 2020.
Yeah, because you got that many black people in them spaces. Mm. It got really, really hot. Yeah. Like the first day was cool, but then the second day I was like, it don't feel as comfortable as it did the first day. And I'm thinking like, because y'all had the shits on like full blast 24/7 that, the fans just said, all right, I quit. it just stopped working. But, now that I know that it was human error, like somebody hit the shit. And I'm like,
it also didn't help that we had more people on that tip-top floor than we had in previous years.
Oh, yeah.
So the heat was being felt more acutely because people were like right there next to the glass ceiling of the atrium more so than they had been in previous years. So it was like a double dose of circumstances that made people go, hey, it's kind of hot up here. And it was that main one. It wasn't inside the rooms. Inside the rooms was frosty, but out on the terrace, on the second and third level, people could definitely feel the difference. So yeah, it was definitely a thing, but it didn't seem to ruin too much everybody's fun. We here like everybody seemed to have a.
I mean, like I said, yo, my man with the Juggerthought powers, they ignited, and he had his fun, but we're not gonna blow him up because the girl might be listening. But I love you, but I'm just saying it happened. Nigga, you said it on the show. What you do?
Damn, man, you gotta bring up old
Stop
shit.
Stop bringing up old shit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like niggas can't rewind. Okay, cool. Now, like I said, BlerDCon 2019 is over. We're a couple months removed. What are your takeaways from BlerDCon 2019? This is the third year doing it. What did you notice? What did you witness? What's going on?
I think the difference, if you're talking about like a market difference between 2017, 18, and then 19, I really noticed that the thread that connected all of it was music. We music and food were like the connective tissue that really tied everything together, and even in ways that people didn't notice. What a lot of people didn't notice, that we had like 4 or 5 DJs spinning throughout the venue 24 hours a day.
Damn.
And it was sleep. Look, I had to use my SAT words when I was doing the write up, but it was so ubiquitous. Right, I just got a cramp in my jaw from saying it.
All right, T.I.
Yeah, it was so ubiquitous that you didn't even notice. Like, oh, there's a DJ over here on the video game arcade. Oh, there's a DJ spinning in the main ballroom. Oh, there's a DJ on the registration landing. Oh, there's a DJ out at the barbecue and the cookout and the food truck rally. And it's like there's just music coming from so many different places that you would watch people. And if you're up on the operations level like I am, you can look down and kind of see what I like to call troop movement. Like, how are people moving around and how are they navigating this venue? And people were like kind of cha-cha sliding their way all through the con, and it was like almost subconscious, like people were just kind of like playing video games and doing the Cupid shuffle at the same time. And so that was a gamble. It works in some venues, but it doesn't work in others. So throwing that out there, was an investment in trust. It was an investment in resources, obviously, through DJs and sound and light. And then the food truck rally, we gambled. That was a big gamble, saying, hey, food trucks, we want y'all for 3 days straight. Food trucks don't do 3 days straight. Like, not at Disney World, not at the World Fair. They don't do that. They come in like, okay, what is your event? We'll do whatever the eating time is of that, and then we're going to leave. We're like, no, don't leave. We want you to stay until Sunday. And they're like, what? Like, stay parked till Sunday and serve food? I'm like, yes, these people don't sleep. They video gaming, and they're going to be dancing, and they're going to be congregating all the time. And, set your hours to whatever works for you for restocking. But we need y'all there the whole weekend. And they didn't take us serious. I mean, they really were like, yeah, we've heard this before. You're going to have Day one. Now, remember, day one of BlerDCon's Friday starts at noon, right?
Yeah. By
10 o'clock Friday night, all but one truck had run completely out of food.
Damn.
They didn't stop. They were like, we didn't know. We didn't think it was serious. Like,
I had told y'all motherfuckers.
Like, y'all thought we were playing. So we had to do a late night thing where we let the trucks out at night, to go back and hit Murray's or wherever they get their meats and supplies from and come back. And, we were like, okay, now can we, continue this on? Because, folks is going to come out here and we got the setup, we got the benches, we got the music, we got the food. People are going to come out here and eat. And as long as you provide them the food, the people are going to eat. And so those two things were like the big takeaways, that we can help to bottle up whatever that spirit is of the con, that vibe that everybody talks about, with two very key components. Music and food are going to be cornerstones of that. There's other things that obviously make that up. The two big stores at the either end of the big mall, this is the Hex and the Nordstrom of this mall that we gotta have food and we gotta have music, and then we can play around a little bit of what's in between.
Mm-hmm. Now, it was different, seeing like the pictures online and the videos on YouTube, and then actually being there and being able to experience it. Now, what are some things that you want to do next year in 2020 that you weren't able to do this year?
Wow. We need a bigger boat. Okay, so Saturday, the Sonus guys who did the really amazing job with the sound and light in the main ballroom called me down from the rooftop, and they were like, "Hilton, you need to come down here." And I was like, "Oh Lord Jesus, what's going on?"
Right.
He's like, "The party, everything's fine. It's no problem. Nobody's fighting or anything like that." He's like, "It's just getting really, really crowded in here." And I said, "Okay, well, let me come down and check it out." And the party on Saturday night, this is not normal, and they do dozens and dozens of shows, all across the country. They were like, okay, the front of the stage is packed and all the way up to the sound booth is packed. Like there's people dancing in front of the sound booth. That's not normal.
Right.
So we don't know what to do because if 100 more people come in here, they're going to be dancing on the stage with us, and we need to figure out, what do you want to close the doors, yada yada yada. And so next year we're going to extend the entire ballroom all the way from A to F, and not have the big theater set up on that first A and B. So that's going to be a really, really big part of it that we're going to do. There's some stuff I can't discuss, as you know, like you just saw the thing with Samurai. I mean, what's it been, like 2 months?
Yeah.
I knew, that what they were doing, 2 months before we had to announce this, when we announced we canceled. But I was like, I can't say anything because technically they weren't telling me, but they were dropping all the hints that only somebody who's a Marvel head would know.
Right.
She is shooting in Budapest. I'm like, okay, I know what's going on because Budapest is only one part of the Avengers, and that's with Black Widow and blah, 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 blah.
The movie that nobody asked for.
It is coming. It's coming, right? So that's going to be a big part of it. There's going to be more outdoor activities. Let me put it like that.
Okay.
We had a lot of success with maximizing that space out in the parking lot where the food trucks were. The city has been an amazing partner. I mean, they really, really love the video. They told me beforehand, no fire. No fire.
Right.
And I told the fire twirlers, I was like, just kind of keep it low key with the fire. And then I look at the video, everything on fire.
Everything by the food trucks. Yeah, they was lighting shit on fire like they was fucking Darthraki.
They got burning hands, burning swords, burning yo-yos, everything on fire.
Like all types of shit.
I was like, man, the mayor's gonna call me and be like, we let you have the space and around and burn the city down. Like, oh God. But yeah, it was really, really great. The city there was no noise complaints, and
that's surprising.
And yeah, we didn't get any noise complaints. There was no issues at all, really. So the city is confident that we can do more with a bigger space. And when I say a bigger space, I'm talking like, it's a bigger space, like outdoor space. They want to do some stuff. And if they give me the green light, it's going to be crazy. We're also going to be extending into additional hotels. We're going to have some programming at maybe some of the Marriott properties across the street. Kind of give a little bit of easement for, some of the crowded panels. We're at a point now where the panels that used to be 30 and 40 are now doing 60 and 70. And, we're doing 130 panels over the weekend. That's a lot. And, trying to squeeze them into little panel rooms is becoming less and less doable. So you'll see that there's going to be a lot more mini announcements. This little event, this micro event, the VIP is going to be crazy. We're going to give a VIP its whole own floor. It's going to be ongoing. It's just going to be insane. So yeah, we're going to put all the stuff that we really loved about the last 3 years in a bottle, and we're going to uncork it, and we're going to add it with some new stuff for 2020.
Okay. Now, you mentioned panels, right? So now, speaking of panels, now we had a panel, right? And we did speed dating. I don't know if you remember, right? So
I heard.
Yeah. So, we were gravely misinformed of how many people were looking for love at, these cons and shit. So, y'all put us in a room that maybe sits like maybe like 70, 80 people max. And then, it got so packed that we had to turn people away and close the door, and people are mad at us like it's awful. I'm like, no, this is the room they gave us. This, that, and the third.
Because it's your fault.
What? How's it my fault?
Let me explain why.
I know. I thought everybody was gonna be horny. I know it's gonna be that horny.
Exhibit A. I try to tell this to all the panel producers, and some people take advantage of it. Some of them don't. Because I don't lay all the heavy stuff on everybody. It's like, there's this algorithm that we're using. I just try to appeal to people's, their interests where they are, and sometimes they bite, sometimes they don't.
Right.
So one of the things that we need to find a way to better enforce and to better manage, I guess you want to put, between the panel submission people, the panelists, and the committee and the social media, is that almost any panel that is going to get more than 40 people, and I knew your panel was going to get more than 40 people. But one of the things that I want to make sure that we do a better job of this next year is that we create a Facebook event so that we can then you create a Facebook event. You guys do it from your page, right? Then you invite BlerDCon to be a co-host, and then it shows up on our social media when we can check and we can do this stuff. And what will happen is that the people will respond, and you'll see, like, we had panels.
Oh no, they responded like in person. They was like, "Yo, they're like, is this LBGTQ?" I was like, "Oh no, it's not. It's all hetero."
We'll know weeks ahead of time that, okay, this thing has got like 400 people talking about going to it, so we probably need to move it to a venue or a room that's going to have more space, so we can make a judgment call on that. And we got maybe 30% participation in that, and it wasn't that big a deal because some people had panels like, yeah, this is really niche-y, and some people it's going to be like late at night, it's just my little private thing, whatever. Yeah. And we know we're going to get 20, 30 people that are really passionate about it, and that's about it. But dating, you put dating in the word. Yeah. And I'm just like, come on, man.
Listen, I knew to do something. It was like, hey,
you knew.
Now I know, because we got feedback from everybody that was there, everybody that we emailed and stuff like that. But it turned out good. Everybody had a great time. They just wish that they had more space. That was the main thing.
Yeah, it's one of the things that it's on the job training for a lot of us, because we're made up mostly of obviously BlerDCon being in there, but non-convention runners. Like, a lot of us were just fans who came together, fans and friends and family. Right. And so every year we learn something new, and even more so than from what we can learn from other con runners that have been helping us out, because we are a different type of con. I'll be talking to people from like Otakon or KatsuCon or AwesomeCon or New York Anime NYC, the other conventions that have been really, really great to us. And there's stuff that we're doing that they've never done. Like, when I say food trucks, they're like, well, what food truck are you going to bring? I'm like, I'm bringing 13. And they're like, oh, well, I don't know what to tell you, because so there's those gray areas that this niche, this particular community, the things that make it unique are also the things that make new challenges. So that'll be one of the things we're going to continually work on. So you guys will have hopefully more space if you guys submit for next year.
Oh, we definitely submit next year, and we need more space because these people are horny. They need love, and it's a lot of people. It's a lot of cis people. It's a lot of queer people. They just want love, and it's like, oh, we mixed them all in and just put them in a small room, and now they mad at us. I'm like, well, shit, just go talk to somebody. Like, I don't know what to do.
Somebody cut the lights off again. What?
Cut the lights off.
Oh no, I fell over. Oh, such a tragedy.
Now, last time we talked, you premiered something on our show where you talked about the Pajama Jammy Jam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that thing, did it go over the way you wanted it to?
No.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay, listen. So structurally and thematically, it went beautifully. Okay. We had the rooftop lounge set up, the DJ. We had lights at every corner. They had the bar with the glass shelving with it was beautiful, man. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And And Rachel True came up, and a couple of the guests came up. Rachel True she stayed there for like 90 minutes. She just walked around. She just talking to people. Oh yeah, she hung up there for forever, and I was kind of like, okay, any minute now.
Yeah, they're coming.
Well, the thing is that people did come, and we counted. Like, if you talk about the people that actually walked through the entranceway, had maybe 100, 120 people all in all that came through.
Right.
Such a rotating group. Like, you would have 30 people at a time would come. They go dance. They get a drink. They would move on, then like immediately another 30 would come. And it was like you were never able to get to this critical mass. And let me tell you why. The same thing I said before. The party in the main hall was so lit that people were, and I was watching what's happening because I kept looking like, I kept watching the door and I'm like, we're at 70, we're at 80, we're at 100. But I didn't really notice everyone who was trickling out. And I was like, we just seem to have like 40 people in here, and people were like, would get up there, they would dance, they would chill, they would look on their phones, and then somebody would be like, yo, you need to get down here. They're doing this, this, and this. And then they would leave out. And I went down when Sonus called me, I was upstairs in the pajama jam. When I came down, like all the people that I saw come and go from the pajama jam, the VIPs, were down there in the main hall partying with y'all, with everybody.
Yeah.
Which blew my mind because I was like, you guys already paid for the one upstairs. Like, this y'all just even, maybe it's just something that people over 30, we kind of think of money the same way. Like, well, even if this is not fun, we paid.
I was like, where's Rachel? Talk to somebody.
We're going to stay here and we're going to ride this out because this is what we did.
Right.
So, but I will say this. I will say we're not going to do a specific VIP party like that. There was two things. One, the elevators were just.
Is that why you guys told everybody to go up to the top, the first 100 to the top gets in free?
No, nobody said that. Because it was only for the VIP.
No, after the main hall party was over, they said the first 100 people that get to the rooftop, whether you pay it or not, get in free. The DJ said that.
That's a rumor because the DJ.
I was there when he said it.
Did say it.
DJ from upstairs was downstairs by then, so I don't know what they was inviting people to. But
hey, I don't know. Maybe it was like, hey, it's something up there. Y'all got punching pie. I don't know.
Punching pie.
The official line is, ABC 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it was just one of those things. I think that it took too long for people to get there because the elevators were so crowded.
Yeah.
I think that because it was not as accessible. And to be perfectly honest with you, the people who were like really buying the VIPs were older people. You know what I mean? They were like 25 and up. And I don't want to be indelicate, but y'all wear people out. If you think about most cons, you think about the after party, that's going to be the first beat you're going to catch at a con. Like, okay, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whenever the rave or whenever party, that's where I'm going to actually hear music because most cons are very sedate and you kind of go from place to place. But people were partying. They were partying out at the food trucks. They was partying in the arcade. It was partying, out. It's like they had been dancing. People's ankles was hurting. There was a lot of folks.
Oh, that was us.
Saturday night.
Gotta do squats.
So I think that was part of it too.
We're all of us here are over 30, right? So we tried the first night to hang, right? So it's like, all right, it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. When does the first panel start in the morning? Like maybe like 10, 11. Oh, we good. Me, myself, I slept a cumulative 12 hours that whole weekend. Then after the con, I was sick for like a week and a half because I didn't sleep. I don't know about these two, but I was pretty fucked up and I didn't regret anything that happened, but I was like, damn, maybe I can't hang like I used to.
Your regenerative powers, you was like Logan.
Logan. Old man Dom, I was here. I was like, yo, I thought I had it. I didn't have it.
Yeah. That's how these cons go now, man. I'm trying to keep up. I was at Dragon Con. I was like, yeah, party. Oh Lord, no.
Oh Lord, my lumbago.
It's 3:00. I guess.
Now, how did the barbershop do?
Oh, the barbershop was the bomb, man. Let me tell you something. I'm expanding that.
Mm.
It was an experiment. It's one of those things. I like to call it an excursion. It's like, I have to explain it 17 different ways to people because it's never been done and they don't really understand what I'm trying to do. I was like, I was hoping to get 3 barbers, but I wasn't really pushing because I wasn't sure how it was going to do. I mean, in my mind, in my estimation, and all the people that, they call it internal polling or whatever, oh, that'd be dope. People need haircuts, but, but people are really provincial about getting haircuts from barbers they don't know. You notice, you go to the barber shop, your barber he's either sick, he's not there, or he's booked. And then there's like, well, Larry's available. You're like, I don't know Larry.
Nah, I don't know Larry.
Tomorrow. Poor Larry sitting there with an empty chair. So I didn't want to have like a big set of Larrys up there and everybody's looking at me. Touch my hair. I don't know you, whatever. And it was just this amazing vibe because, and I said this in the closing remarks, that, part of the community, aspect of the Black community, the barbershop's part of that. Like that barbershop experience is something that like 90% of Black people can relate to on some level. And if we could bring that vibe by having it, and, we bought these guys new chairs, we set up the little mirrors with the lights, and they were busy. I didn't even have them booked on Sunday because I wasn't sure how much demand there was going to be. They came to me on Saturday. It was like, hey, Hilton, do you mind if we cut on Sunday? I was like, no, I didn't think anybody would want to cut on Sunday. And I didn't think you guys would have the customer base. Like, no, we had to turn people away. It was just, so much demand. And so we're going to do, we'll probably do 2 more barbers because I'm partnering with a barber college out in Bladensburg to supply more barbers, young barbers who don't have a chair sitting at some barbershop that they'll be missing on that weekend, but have the drive and the talent. And we're going to try and figure out what we can do for the ladies. I've heard some ladies say, oh, can we do something with hair and for nails? Some people said, somebody who can do dreads and braids.
Right.
There's somebody who can do makeup. And I'm trying to figure out what that balance is because we don't have water. We don't have sinks. And I know a lot of hair stuff requires washing and conditioning and stuff. So we're going to expand on that. That one warmed my heart, even just talking about it. I'm just like, oh man, it was just beautiful to watch. So there's going to be a lot more of that going on in 2020.
Okay. Now we left during the closing remarks. Now I know the closing remarks is like the cap on everything. Everybody, they come together and say their piece about the whole weekend. Now, what were the biggest complaints that you had, if any?
Well, y'all put the first one out, the heat.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's funny because, you like the closing ceremonies and then the feedback panel go back to back. And, we're going to find a more efficient way to do the feedback panel. We're probably not going to have it as a panel next year. I think why is because there are a lot of folks who have, very specific things they want to communicate. And a lot of people are introverted and they don't want to be put on the spot. Like, I don't want to get on a mic and stand in front of everybody and try to walk you through something that, I would rather have in a private conversation. Some of the stuff is a little complicated. Some of it's really nichey. I had one guy I talked to on the phone, for instance, who he just had some very, very, very specific things about his panel and how many mics did he have and, the timing and the arrangement of his time and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, you can't stand up and say that and have people understand it at a feedback panel. But no, I think that the heat was the main one that we heard. The hotel, really sold out for the first time, like really, really sold out. And that was we weren't ready for that, because that's not normal in year 3, so we were really behind the 8 ball on that, really chasing that problem for the whole spring. When I get a call talking about sold out, it's usually the room block. And there's usually rooms available at the hotel. I just have to sign an additional contract to get room blocking for the rooms that are available in the inventory. But we got to March and it was like, no, sold out. There's no more rooms at the hotel at all for the weekend. Like, oh my God, like it's March. What are we going to do? So we're rushing contracts with the Courtyard Marriott, with the Residence Inn across the street. So we're gonna be well ahead of that for this year as well, trying to make sure that we get the most amount of discounted room block rooms for everybody for the weekend. But those are the ones, like I said, the heat was the big thing, like that. That was the big one, like for everything. And there was some panel stuff too, like we were just talking about, crowding. We had some room cancellations. You guys might not remember this, but last year, 2 weeks after BlerDCon, we found out that 2019 was scheduled to be on the same weekend as Otakon. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we book our hotel reservations, the hotel and conference reservation like 2, 3, 4 years in advance. So going 10 months out saying, okay, what can we do? We ended up crashing into a lot of other events that really, like, there was like a little mini family reunion on Thursday happening on the second floor.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It was some people in there like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, like they're dressed up like they in church. What is going on here? And it was like little 30 people here, 10 people there that were doing stuff in different parts of the hotel, like on Wednesday and Thursday, that kind of messed with our load in, messed with some of the availability of some of the rooms for panels on Sunday afternoon, things like that we won't have a problem with, just structurally, we won't have a problem with going forward. So those were the main things.
Now, is that a reason why you announced BlerDCon 2020 like days at? Like, I feel like I got home and y'all had already announced 2020.
Oh yeah, this is striking while the iron is hot. Like, no one's thinking about BlerDCon more than when they're at BlerDCon or they just came from BlerDCon. And if we were actually more on it for 2019 than we were for 2020, we actually had the the flyers and the banners and the tablecloths and stuff at BlerDCon. Well, before you left BlerDCon, 2018, you saw 2019. And I like doing that because, like I said, I want to capture everybody when everyone's at the highest spirit. We have the most attention because you get questions. Like, if we weren't doing it, we'd have 3 months of people banging on our virtual doors and when's 2020? What's it going to be? What's the theme? And, it's better to just say, hey, this is what we're going to do and get it out there as soon as we can. Now, obviously, these ideas and what we're going to do for 2020 has to be fleshed out just like any other year. But the date, the theme, if we know that stuff, then we can put that out and kind of let it marinate.
Okay. Now, is there ever a plan to take BlerDCon out of the DMV area? Because it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get more popular. Is there any plans to take it to like a New York or Atlanta or just find a bigger venue in the DMV area?
It was an interesting conversation to have. Last year, if you'd asked me that question, it would have been a block answer. No. Like, it's just too hard. It takes, everybody with BlerDCon's got a day job and it's like having two jobs.
Right.
So trying to do more than one BlerDCon is just incomprehensible as far as, budget wise and time and energy, et cetera, et cetera. However, I've been in conversations with some entities, again, just con runner stuff, can't tell who until stuff is signed, that are bringing in the idea of doing not micro events, but the idea of sponsoring smaller BlerDCon pocket events.
Like pop-up cons.
Right. Like a pop-up con or a party or something that we can add on to an existing con. Now, there's a phenomenon happening here. I had hoped for it, but I didn't know that it was going to happen. There has always been, now you might remember this 6-7 years ago. Remember when people used to lose their shit when there was like more than 2 diversity panels at New York Comic Con?
Yeah.
Like, yo, man, there's going to be 2. Like, we are in there. Like, it was like, huge.
Latinx and LGBTQ. Oh my God. We made it.
Wow, I think a lot of the conventions that are run by majority white organizing committees or con runners or whatever you want to call it were on the fence about doing BlerDCon type programming, Blerd specific events, or embracing, like with both arms, that diversity mission. You know, you had your kind of your throwaways. I think they would throw a little 2 or 3 panels, just like I said with New York City Comic Con. If you look at 2013, 14, 15, you know, that's what the schedules look like. Well, what you're seeing now is there are more conventions that are like wholeheartedly, like we've got a full blown, like Awesome Con's got Pride Alley. Like that's constant. Like you go there, that's all diversity stuff the whole weekend. They've got a diversity track that just finished its 2nd year, and I had the honor of helping to work with them at Dragon Con. It was a diversity track, you know, like, oh, wow, 2nd year, 33-year-old con, 2nd year diversity track. You know what I mean?
Wow.
You're seeing more Black nerd guests going to non-Black nerd cons as guests.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, you're seeing panels being accepted. You know, I'm seeing panels that we accepted first or helped curate at BlerDCon getting accepted at New York City Comic Con and at Anime NYC and at, you know, Awesome Con. And you see these people like, oh, wow, you got to have a con. I mean, you got to have a panel that's been done before you get considered. And if it never gets accepted, you never get to do it. You can never say I've done this panel before somewhere else. You're less likely to get it at a neutral convention. So, yeah, look for us. I'm trying to think of something that we have in the works that I can even mention. In the spring, in 2020, we've already got like 2 pop-up events in the rudimentary stages of working, and so we're experimenting with it. And with any luck, if they are sustainable and people support them, then we will be able to replicate it at other conventions, either inside the convention structure itself, or as an add-on, either just outside of, just before, just after, you know, some other convention. So to answer your question, yes, and keep an eye out.
Right. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you is, do you ever think that the con space is being oversaturated to where it'll affect your con specifically? Because I see a lot of cons popping up, but it seems like every month there's a con for something.
Week.
Every week I hear somebody going to something. When the fuck did that pop up? Oh, it was like the 2nd year. I'm like, yo, where the hell are all these cons coming from? Now, do you think there'll ever be a point where everybody's like just conned out? Like, yo, I can't afford this shit. I keep traveling. I can't keep missing work. Do you ever think it'll affect your con?
The first answer, will there be a saturation point? Yes. Will it affect BlerDCon? No. And to the first question, it's all a symptom of the explosion of geek culture. You know, Marvel and Disney have brought this windfall on us and have taken us out of the corners and out of the shadows. And, you know, it's kind of made us mainstream as nerds. And within the larger geek community, you have the Black geek community. And so we're having a renaissance, and, you know, it's becoming more acceptable to be a nerd to whatever degree you are in the Black community in ways that it wasn't before. So there's growth happening at every sector of the nerd industry, if you will. So cons are just a natural outlier of that. It's just a natural progression that will come. Because we are who we are, and I think because we are we're multi-fandom, so we're pretty much covering everything in the nerd space to whatever degree we can, as best we can. And we are very specific BlerDCon. I think us being in the niche that we're in the place and time that we are happening, the real estate that we're blocking out is pretty singular, you know. And I think another reason why, and this is just from a business marketing perspective and part of our business plan, is that we want to expand the nerd community. There is a saturation point. There's only so many Black nerds in the con-going community, period, right? And we haven't quite hit that number yet, but we will eventually. And it could be 8,000, 10,000, 12,000. I mean, whatever that magic number is, when we hit it, we're going to hit it hard and we're going to stay there. So what I'm planning to do and am doing, and we were just finished doing part of this strategy this weekend, is pulling Black nerds out of the Black closet. There's a lot of blerds that are not active in the con space, who only, you know, indulge their nerdiness at home, either with their Crunchyroll account or with their PS4 account, or, you know, with the movies they watch and the stuff that they do in their house, but they never take it into the public sphere.
Talking to you, Hesh.
You see him like Nesby, you see him at There's all these groups at the college campuses for, gaming tournaments and stuff like that. And it never goes beyond that. We were just at the Congressional Black Caucus this weekend.
Right.
We had a table. And were there a lot of church ladies with beaded hats and stuff? That was the majority. But, you hit, like maybe 1 out of 10 people like, oh, snap, like this is a thing. Like I've never been to a con before. And you'll see like on our social media, when people are talking about their experience, a lot of them will preface, this was my first convention. And if we can get a critical mass of those people, if we can tap into the Black nerd community within the non-con going Black community, say that 10 times in a row, we're not going to have any competition, because you know how it is with the con going community. We really imprint on the cons we love, and it takes a lot for us to disengage once we say that's my con, right? And if we're the first con that you have, if proverbially take your con virginity, you will forever have a place in your heart for BlerDCon.
Right.
So as many of them as may come and go, and there will be a lot that come and go, I think that because of what we're doing and how we're doing it, we should be pretty safe as long as we stay and continue to do what we've done over the last 3 years.
Okay, dope. Now, I don't want to keep you too long. Now, is there anything?
Sorry, I don't have anything to do.
All right, so fuck it. Now, I know you're already planning for next year. You have the theme for next year is Chocolate City, I want to say. Is that
you should say it. That's it.
Okay. Now, what is there like a what's the theme have to be like? Is it like, when what's the shit like Fashion Week or like the Governor's Ball where it's like, hey, we give you a theme. It's like, do that.
Well, I have two ideas in my head. There's the structural theme, and then there's the outward theme, right? Now, the outward theme, obviously, you can see it's kind of got that Willy Wonka factory look and feel to it, and that I think is visually, I just love everything about it. I love looking at the logo. The colors. It just feeds my soul, right? But at the same time, with the structure, what I want to do is make sure that we are bringing in as much of the culture and highlight as much of the culture that is that defines, chocolate cities across the country, right? And I want people to, and I mean, to whatever degree we can do it, because, it's never been done before. There's so many of these things that we're doing that don't have a template anywhere else that we can replicate. So it's like, okay, how do we do that? Like, do we bring mambo sauce in and give it to everybody? Do we have, we definitely want to have like, okay, where's the go-go music going to fit into this?
Right.
For the DC flavor, and then we want to try and figure out a way to incorporate a lot of the HBCUs that are in this region. Even if it's just in some merch or promo that we do, say, hey, look, the Black college experience is part of what makes DC a chocolate city as much as anything else. But it's not just DC. Let's talk about Charlotte. Let's talk about Atlanta. Let's talk about, Chicago. Let's talk about, New Orleans. Let's see where all of these chocolate cities that are out there, what is it about them that maybe we can bring in in context, not just have a, just some big thing sitting there of deep dish pizza or something like that. Hey, there's Chicago, to say, no, well, hey, maybe we'll have some representatives from the Chicago POC cosplayers group do a panel about the Black nerd experience in that chocolate city, and, kind of give people a sense of, hey, there's a lot to do with the region. There's a regionality to this culture that we need to acknowledge. And if we can do that and still manage to keep that blurred spin, that nerd spin on top of it, it'll be successful. So there'll be music involved. Obviously, there'll be clothing involved. There will be food involved, which makes everybody happy. And hopefully we'll be able to get that into the content of the panels to explain, things like gentrification. Like you guys are here in the DC area. No, you're not.
No, we're in Connecticut.
But you know that gentrification is happening at all levels in almost every chocolate city in the country.
Yeah, right.
And it wouldn't. It's people think, oh, gentrification. It's white people moving into the city. It's not that. It's that white people are moving into the city because I really love the culture and the history, and then they kind of go, yeah, but I'd like a Caribou Coffee across the street.
Yeah.
I'd rather have, maybe, a Nordstrom, closer to my house and a Whole Foods. And next thing you know,
all the culture's going.
Right. It's not DC anymore. It's not Chicago anymore. It's not, the place that like, your hometown. So we need to discuss those issues and put all that stuff into context. So it's a heavy lift. But if we do it, and the community comes along, it'll be one for the books.
Can't wait to see it. Now, do you remember a lot of the cosplays from this year? What was your favorite cosplay?
Oh my gosh.
Some of your favorites.
I saw a cosplay of it was Afro Samurai. And let me tell you something. You will not see an Afro Samurai cosplayer that's not like seriously into Afro Samurai.
Right.
That's not a casual cosplay for people to do. They really, 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 there was like 5 of them and they were just like all kind of together. So like just seeing like 3 of them together, like 2 of them ended up in the video. And it was I just loved it. Just people choosing to take that on. I also like we had, I think for the first time, what are the guys with the lightsabers? They were doing the lightsaber duels.
Oh, they was doing it in the food parking lot.
They were doing it in the food court, the food truck rally. They were doing it inside some of the spaces, which, I was like, how did you find space to be swinging that stuff around? But I don't care.
You just start swinging, the motherfuckers move.
Right. All right, you guys do that.
You got that.
Yeah, oh my God, the Star Wars fandom, they just really, really came out. And obviously there was a huge amount of Steven Universe cosplay because of Estelle being there. And this, man, I don't think I've seen that many different iterations of Garnet anywhere else.
Right.
I was like, oh man, you did it with glasses and you did it with makeup and you did it with like, oh, you use these components. And so, yeah, it was a real slam. And it's the thing that people take away from BlerDCon more so than anything else. And you see it in like the videos and the reviews, like, oh, how was the cosplay? And in the contest, you just saw like some of the best craftsmanship and sewing and stuff like that. It was really, really tight.
That's good, man. Now, another thing, right? Was there any sexual harassment claims this year? Because we always say cosplay does not mean consent. And we saw a lot of women, and they were showing them things. They was out there in them suits. We was like, oh my God, look. Don't touch.
I was not wearing pearls, but I was clutching them all.
Brother.
I was looking like some woman from the 1800s passing out. I needed liquids.
Dog, that speed dating, whew, it was a... Man, sorry, go ahead.
Relax.
Well, y'all have got an offline discussion to have.
Anytime you want to have a discussion about what happened. Episode 49. The thing that I didn't say at the feedback panel or at the closing ceremonies because it was too soon. Right.
Because I wanted to see, because usually sexual harassment claims and people reporting having being, harassed comes, in the following weeks after a convention.
Yeah.
And I have not seen anywhere, not on social media, not in some pocket secret thread. No one has come to me to tell me that someone else they know was sexually harassed. There's been no reporting directly to BlerDCon or anywhere around BlerDCon that anything happened, either fights or sexual harassment or somebody ODing or drinking or whatever. We did not have one incident of anything happening that entire weekend, which I really, really just I don't like crowing stuff like that because I know that kind of stuff can turn on a dime. I know so many factors that go into that. Is there somebody already there that has a previous beef with the person that's there, and then somebody steals somebody's girlfriend mid-con, and da da da. You know, there's 1,000 different ways.
Ain't got nothing to do with me.
But there was nothing happened. And I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna hope that there is something to it. I can't swear to it yet, but maybe in year 5 I'll be able to say it. That if you can cultivate an atmosphere, if you can cultivate whatever that vibe or that spirit is, that underline the undercurrent of the convention, where people felt connected. You know, people felt like you were, I don't know you, but I know you. Right. You know, and I want to get to hang out with you. I want to learn what you're about. I want to connect. And even though, just like you're saying, you saw some stuff that made you clutch your pearls, and you called on some of your dead relatives, you know, you pulled the Fred Sanford, had the heart attack, coming to Elizabeth, that kind of stuff. Elizabeth. You know, coming to you, big dummy. You know, none of that ever seemed to translate into unwanted approaching or unwanted physical contact or anything like that. Now, I'm knocking wood right now, because I mean, there's next year, and there's no way to predict any of the factors for what's going to happen next year. Right. I think what we have done, above and beyond building an audience, I think we are building a real community in all the ways that count. You know, people are taking BlerDCon with them when they leave, in spirit. And I said this in the closing ceremonies, when you go to other cons, there Black and brown people are coming together just a little bit tighter than I remember. And I'll look and I'll say, oh, there's the BlerDCon people. Definitely. Like, I remember that guy and that cosplayer and da da da. And they'll go to parties together. They'll do meetups. So this is one of the reasons why I think we actually have a viable avenue to do pop-up stuff at other cons, is because we have members of the community that would come out to it. And I think if the more connected we are, the less likely we are to disrespect one another, to let anyone disrespect, you know, someone that we're actually standing with or hanging with. We're policing ourselves very well. You know, and trust me, there was liquor. There was a lot of fake legs at BlerDCon. Oh my God! People unhooking their fake leg and pouring out. You know, you know, there was so many. What do you call it? Flasks. Yeah. You know, IV bags. Yeah. Like, come on, dude, I see that. Yeah. Like, but nobody was falling out. Nobody was, you know, doing any stuff. So. Yeah, there wasn't any of that, and it's inspiring to be able to say, and I hope and pray that we are able to say this 10 years from now, that, you know, we have found a way that with good policing, good security, good signage, good policy, have a community that understands how to basically behave itself for 72 hours without screwing up.
Right. Yeah. Now, I think the dopest thing for us that happened during BlerDCon is like I said, we're from Connecticut, right? But we met people outside of the DMV area. Like, we met people from like Detroit, Florida. I think as far as like Arizona, we met somebody that came for specifically BlerDCon and just happened to stay there for 3 days. And we mean just people from like all over the place. And for you to have that event in the DMV and just bring people from all over the U.S. to this one central place to just nerd out and have fun, you're doing something special. And I don't know if you have fully grasped like what you're doing.
No. I get so caught up. I'm in the minutia all day, every day. And it's only in moments. There's like moments where like, it'll be like watching the video, right? Like that'll be where I get emotional and I can really see the totality of what, you know, is special about the con. And I don't take any direct responsibility for that. And let me explain why. Everything that you've described that you liked about the con or you loved about the con, 99.5% of it came from the people who came into that building for that weekend. Mm-hmm. All the panels were outside submissions. We only curated maybe 6 or 7 of them, and then obviously the interview sessions with the guests that we invited. Mm. So all those panels are the community. right? And yes, did I reach out to some people and say, this thing that I know that you are going through, or this subject that you are enmeshed in, is something that the Blerd community needs to hear, and I would love for you to submit a panel? Yes, but that stopped there. They did that. Those DJs, I don't have their playlists. And to be frank and honest, there was probably about 15 DJs I ain't never seen before. I'm sorry.
They had shit rocking.
Like, who is that dude? But it was okay, because it's like, it was participation and people wanting to, bring, their own spirit and lend themselves to that energy. So when people ask me for any, like, what do you think about what you created? Like, I just built the framework. The video games, the staging, the team that was assembled did so much of the work, from registration to doing the panel organization to security to all the volunteers. All of this is from the nerd community and the Blerd community. So I can't take any responsibility for the magic, if you will, other than providing the stage or having at least enough of a vision to say that there's an audience for that. Just liquidate my 401k. We can make a stage for this, we can put this here, we can make that, and people will come.
Right.
So yeah, those folks that you talked about and everything that you saw, man, all of that is from the community. And we were just lucky enough to have the community come and participate, and they're shaping the con. There's something that they don't like. There's something the community says, hey, Hilton, nice try, but nah, we're not doing it. I'm not married to any of this stuff. I'm like, okay, we want to do something that's going to enrich, empower, inform, and draw people in. Let's be honest. As Black nerds, we were not welcome at either cookout. We would never be anything other than Black. So we get all the racism stuff just like everybody else. And then as nerds, we lose our cool card. So, we was the ones struggling to get to the prom and do all the stuff, that all the cool kids did. But, there was a quadrant of our own community that didn't know what to do with us. Like, what are you doing with Dungeons and Dragons and stuff? Summoning demons in my house? Like, get out of here. I don't want them kids in my house rolling that dice, And so we're just really coming together as a community in this way over the last 10 years. We didn't know each other before social media because we weren't in the streets. Right. We was in the house.
Right. Words in the house.
Yes, boys talk to each other. Yeah. We didn't talk to
like, it's crazy.
Come to my house and play this game, or I'm not going to see you for a week. So the community is really has really stepped up and is shaping all the fundamental areas of the convention, and that's what we're hoping to keep that going. If we can keep that going and keep building the community up and cementing the community, we'll be 20 years from now. We'll be sitting in the old folks' home talking about it.
Yeah, I remember when I did that BlerDCon. Shit, I did.
Your daughter gonna come pick you up.
Who?
The Access fans out front.
Right. Now, I know it's early, like BlerDCon 2020 is like 9 months away or something like that. Now, is there anything that you can reveal now that's going to be implemented in next year's con? Because, I mean, you came on here and said like the barbershop and the Pajama Jammy Jam. Is there anything that you can like say now? Or is everything still tight-lipped?
Oh, man, like there's nothing has been signed. I mean, there are so many things that are coming up. And I'll give you some things I'm looking at. How about that?
Okay, that'll work.
What is in the Hilton set? Okay. I'm really, really, really excited to see what they do with the Cowboy Bebop live action movie. Right? I have such high hopes for that. Mustafa Shakur is just a brilliant actor, and he's somebody I would love to have at BlerDCon. And I just think he's just got so much depth and in the character he's playing. And he's sitting there being this dude who's ping ponging around in the nerd sphere from playing, from being in Luke Cage, and he's doing sci-fi stuff with he was even in American Gods. And now he's going to be doing this. And I'm like, this would be a really great guest to have. You probably just saw the post, like I said, with Sam Ryder.
Sam Ryder, yeah.
her being in the Black Widow movie. You know, I would definitely be interested in having her come out. You know, even though we had a cancellation, it's obviously for reasons that are legit.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think she's just amazing, and there's a lot of people that are inspired by her.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Go-Go. You know, we're going to have a Go-Go band, at least one at BlerDCon.
I need it.
You know, so we're going to be looking to see, like, who do we bring? Do we go old school? You know, we bring in Trouble Funk? Or are we going to go with some of the new cats that's out here doing it? You know what? You know what's going to be the right fit for the con. You know, obviously, like more music. There will be more music. I'm going to have more music, more dancing. You know, I'm going to be maximizing more of that space, and we're going to be expanding. But the guest list is really the next thing. You know, we got our eyes on a couple of cosplayers, and if the cosplayers are listening, like, yeah, when I tapped you on the shoulder and was pulling you aside, just talking to you about nothing, yeah.
It up.
Yeah, I'm setting you up. Like, yeah, let's just talk about small talk. Okay.
Hey, you know, I got this thing, right?
What you got going on next year?
Right.
You scared of flying? Yo, I'm serious, man. Look, this is so new. Especially in year one, we had so many people that had never done a panel before that we had to walk through what the panel structure would be. We had people that were scared to fly, that was trying to come from Canada and Chicago. And I'm like, I don't know how you're going to get here from here if you can't get there from flying. You're going to take a train from Canada? Like, I don't know how that works. You know, so those are the challenges that we go through sometimes in bringing a lot of this stuff about. But it gets better. It gets easier from year to year. But those are a couple of things that just are standing on top of my head when I think about 2020.
Okay, cool. All right, so my last thing, right? Now, is there any way that Three Ninjas can become the official host of BlerDCon 2020? Because I can't tell you. Listen, shut the fuck up about it. So, what I'm telling you is, like, the way we talked about shit, Hesh, don't look at me like that. Don't look at me in that tone of voice. So, the way we talked about this shit on episode 49 of our podcast, we got so many messages of like, yo, I didn't know it was this lit. The way y'all talked about it, I want to go next year. We're not mentioning BlerDCon again, I swear to God, unless you pay us. I promise you that, my nigga. Because the way people are coming at us like, yo, I should have been there. I saw the photos. I was there. It was this, that, the third, yada, yada. Is there any way that, you know, we can have, you know, we can talk offline, but is there any way that Three Ninjas can become the official host of BlerDCon 2020?
Well, here's what I'm hoping that we're able to do. Okay. If you'll notice, most conventions, when they're properly segmented, are able to defer certain things to external organizations, at least in part. So I got a couple of go-to organizations that I work with, like Quirktastic has always been great for some of the programming. Doing interviews with some of our guests, you know, when you talk about hosting, it's like I'll give them a call and say, hey, you know, Quirktastic like first crack at interviewing Estelle. And then we'll go back and forth and figure out who's going to do it and who's the biggest, you know, Steven Universe fan and, you know, start crying when you know,
right.
Because I go through it too. You know, so outsourcing in that way is not an alien concept. So there will be more opportunities, I think, for more organizations to take a more official role in, you know, participating in the con space outside of panels. You know, I would like to see people doing live podcasts from the con. Like we are.
Oh, we're doing that next year. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, like we got a mic, a table, and we're facing the con floor, and we're just gonna sit here for an hour and just talk shit for, you know, about everything that's going on, and snatch some people out the crowd. Like, hey, what are you doing? What's your name? We like your cosplay. Whatever.
Right.
And as we grow, we'll have more and more of that as well. So I don't see any reason why we can't give the Three Ninjas a call for some of that. We'll see how things pan out as far as the guest list and the activities. But if you guys see something, look, if you see something you like, you know, and say, hey man, I'm a real big, you know, fan of, you know, this author that's going to be there or whatever, you know, do you think we could get a crack at talking to them either for our own podcast or in front of the crowd for the official? You know, these are definitely things we're going to be looking at. So I got the direct line to Kevin. So
right.
he can be like, hey man, I just saw that announcement. What's up?
I mean, I can hit up a couple people, man. I got some things in my head that I haven't put down on paper yet, but I got a couple ideas, man. We'll talk. All right.
You talk, we'll do something.
Yeah, we'll do something. Now, where can people buy tickets for BlerDCon 2020?
You go to blerdcon.com/tickets. Take you right to the ticketing page, but also has the hotel room links for the room block. And that's a one-stop shop. All I have to spell this out sometimes for folks because a lot of cons do things differently, and I try to keep things simple. Is this an early bird price on the ticket? And I'm like, no, it's just advanced ticket. Like it's it's $60. It's $60. And so yeah, you buy in advance, it'll be $60. Do I foresee a world where we're going to run out of general admission tickets? If it is, it's going to be this year. So I usually tell people to just go ahead. If you got the money in the account now, just do it, get it out of the way. The rooms is a different story. I think a lot of folks were taken by surprise because we had plenty of room inventory the previous years. The rooms, I would definitely make sure I had my room situation straight and my transpo straight, even before you get the tickets. The VIP is going to be spelled out probably as early as mid-October. Okay. They're doing some renovations in the hotel, so exactly where and what things are going to be, but we're going to have a full floor for VIP that will run the entire convention. That's going to have all kinds of benefits and celebrity guest access and all that stuff. But we will not have there won't be a pajama jam this year. We'll have a 21 and up party. Don't get me wrong. There will be a 21 and up party, but that'll be for everybody who wants to do grown folk stuff. But no rooftop pajama jammy jam.
I mean, it might be a pajama jammy jam. It just won't be on the roof.
Oh no, it might be on the roof. It's just gonna be sponsored by them.
People wearing their cosplays with way more pajamas than the jam. I was like,
I don't want to wear drawers. What you talking about?
We're gonna talk to people. We're gonna talk to our cosplay family and say, okay, look, if you got like something that's like straight out of your favorite ecchi or hentai, try to push it to after 6 o'clock. Y'all running around with both cheeks out on Sunday morning, and even Jesus is looking down.
Hentai jammy jam.
Jesus can look right down into the con and he can see us.
Like, oh Lord, look at my children.
Gave y'all one good day.
I can't give y'all niggas nothing. So where can everybody reach you on social media, and what's BlerDCon on social media?
So we've got BlerDCon the group, we've got BlerDCon the page, and we got BlerDCon 2020 as the event on Facebook. BlerDCon DC is our Twitter handle, BlerDCon on Instagram. So those are the main places that you can find us. We put out a lot on social media. We really, my guys who are on the social media team, man, they are active. They pictures posted. You can find out where we are at any given time. Myself, I'm on Facebook. I'm actually accessible to a fault. Most people don't know who the con chair is for any convention other than BlerDCon.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's like this cloudy, like, what is the nature of God type thing. I don't know. I go to MagFest. I don't know who's in charge. I just have a good time. But I'm just I'm out there and I'm accessible. If you see me at another con, I encourage people to come up and talk to me about BlerDCon, like right there on the spot. Don't be shy. I'm not provincial about BlerDCon enough to say, oh, I don't talk about BlerDCon at Starbucks. Oh my God. No, this is all I do. I don't really have much of a social life anymore. So I love talking about BlerDCon. Even when I'm at cons, I used to cosplay a lot. I don't really do that anymore because I'm always doing some BlerDCon business. So I have to sneak in my cosplays, when I do it. So yeah, if you see me at a con, come up, even if it's bad news, like even if you hated BlerDCon for some reason, like it's just, hey, look, I really don't like the fact that BlerDCon is during the day. I don't know, whatever it is, and maybe we can come to some compromise. We can say, hey, maybe you should try, maybe if you sleep during the day, you can experience it at night. whatever. I think there's a way for everybody to enjoy it. And any questions that you have. But the community at large, we love it. And I feel very much at home talking to the community everywhere I go. And so, yeah, just hit me up. People know where to find me, and I like being found.
Word, man. So like I probably said before, man, what you're doing is great. The con is great. And now that we've actually been there to experience it, man, we talk about it all the time. It's just a great experience. And I'm pretty sure this ain't the last time we'll talk. So, we'll be in touch in probably next year or in a few months or so when we submit our panels for next year.
Yeah. And so that's a good segue.
Oh yeah. So yeah, panels, when you submit
panel submissions will probably mid-October-ish will open. It'll be a form, questionnaire, everything. And what we're going to do this year, we are going to place an actual date for all of the acceptances. We've been kind of playing it by ear because we'll get 300, 400, 500 submissions. And some years it's really hard to get through all of them. Some people submit, then we accept, and then then they have people pull out or they have an emergency, and then we're playing shuffle for a month leading up to the final schedule. We're going to try and move that up a little bit, at least by a month, so people will know a little earlier. And that was one of the complaints that we got, is people were a month and a half out. I'm just now finding out if my panel got accepted because they were the 5th round or something.
Yeah.
We're going to try and crystallize the schedule early on and kind of get it out there so people can make plans. So yeah, October, and the same thing for the vendor and Artist Alley applications. Remember, you don't have to pay for your table to apply. You won't be paying for your space until probably January. Once you go through the vetting process and everything, and you're accepted, that's when you have to pay. So don't not apply for a table because the money ain't right. Don't worry about that. Just get it in there.
Okay. All right. Cool, man. All right, Hilton, I don't got nothing else. You guys got anything? Anything I want to ask?
How you feel about Megan Thee Stallion?
Oh yeah. So like stuff like that. Do you think that people that I guess do you think that she's true to this geek shit, or is it just a marketing ploy to hey, get everybody?
There really is no way to know,
unless you're invited to the con.
It's one thing. I saw that.
Yo, if I can hear a big old freak at the con, yo.
You did that little Jedi mind trick. Yeah, you're okay, I heard that one.
Right.
No, there's really no way to know. I think there is a quadrant, and I mean, let's get very specific, of the Black nerd community that is just emerging. And have been weaned on Dragon Ball Z and on Pokemon and cosplay and video games, and it's just in their DNA. The word nerd is not going to have any meaning in 10 years. There's a generation of people that are not going to have the same definition or self-definition of the word nerd or blurred as we do. And so, it used to be a hard thing to be a nerd. You had to make a conscious effort, really, really work hard to be a nerd back in the day. And you don't really have to do that anymore. So, because, I can go get a new PS4, have it hooked up to my TV in an hour and a half for, maybe $400, and I'll be in there. I'm a gamer now, right? It's got my game in, got my new Mortal Kombat. You can play online, it's all there. So there's really no way to know whose air quotes you can't see me making, right, or anything like that. I personally don't think somebody like Megan Thee Stallion with all of her other assets needs to go through and read the cliff notes of all of the mangas out there, or rifle through only the key episodes of Dragon Ball so she can claim nerddom, so she can take shit from half of the nerd community saying, oh, you're a faker. Where she probably would have. I mean, look, Nicki Minaj is retiring. Right? There's an open block that she didn't need the nerd thing to do it. So even if she's faking, I'm kind of happy for it. That's if we're that cool now, where faking it is actually adds to your career in hip hop, that's still progression in my world. Right? So yeah, but my only thing was when I didn't know who she was, and I did go to her Instagram, and I mean, you talk about like clutching pearls like every. I'm like, where is this sister's face? Like, how does she get these angles on these pictures? Like,
Oh shit!
who does she live with? How does that work? Another pic from this angle. Oh, sure, fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I'm keeping an eye on her. You're not the first person to mention her as somebody to look at or potentially bring to BlerDCon. But we'll just see. How much pearls we have to clutch. We'll see what how the con shapes out, and go from there. But yeah, I'm happy that if she's faking, I'm happy she's faking because it's good for the nerd community. But she's probably not.
Right. God-given gifts from God.
I don't think she's faking though.
I don't.
His knees.
Bruh, I don't know if she faking it now. She look good faking it.
Yeah. Because when she did that, like that shit went over so many people's head. They ain't know what the fuck everybody
they don't
was
know.
talking
It's
about.
like, oh, that bitch got a white and red wig.
Yeah.
Everybody like, yo, this
That's
Todoroki,
Todoroki, man.
You don't know what you're talking
Nobody got it. They're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
What is wrong with her eye? Like, no.
Yeah.
Why is it rising red?
I'm picking on her because she got reverse vitiligo. No, it's a character from the. Never mind. Could just get in the car, Dad. So, yeah, I'm a singular nerd. I don't have any other nerds in my family, so nobody gets my jokes. Nobody understands my references. My father doesn't understand the concept of memes.
Right.
So it's
fuck these memes.
Yeah, that's a really interesting picture of SpongeBob you put up here. He's getting up. What are you looking at? I'll tell you. Yeah. What are you talking about, son?
All right, so Hesh, anything, man?
No, I'm good. I think.
You're good. All right, Hilton, man. So thank you for chopping it up with us, man. We appreciate it, and we'll be in touch soon, man.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I will be around.
All right, man. We'll talk to you.
All right. Have a good one, y'all.
All right, peace.